My mother's voice came through the speaker, crisp and apologetic, the way it always gets when she's performing for an audience. She's always been a little fragile, she was saying, emotionally. You understand. That's why her brother stepped in. Somebody had to look after the place. I watched her on my phone screen through the Ring doorbell camera, standing in the lobby of my building with her hand on the front desk like she owned the reception counter. My brother stood behind her, nodding along, arms crossed, wearing a jacket I didn't recognize. New. Expensive. He turned slightly, and I caught the logo. Stone Island. $400. Minimum. I was sitting in a rented Hyundai in the parking garage across the street. I had been back in the city for 6 hours. I had not gone upstairs yet. I took a sip of gas station coffee and kept watching. We just want to make sure management has the correct emergency contact going forward, my mother continued, sliding a piece of paper across the desk. Her brother is the one actually maintaining the property. He's been there for months. He's very responsible. The front desk associate, a young woman I recognized from move-in day 3 years ago, looked down at the paper, then back up. She didn't say anything right away. She just nodded slowly, the way people do when they're processing something that doesn't quite add up. I set the coffee in the cup holder and opened the Notes app on my phone. I had been building this document for 22 days. It was 43 pages long. I wasn't fragile. I was ready. 4 months earlier, I had driven away from this building with 2 suitcases and a government laptop bag. I am a senior IT compliance auditor on federal contract. The assignment was in Phoenix 4 months, full-time, non-negotiable relocation clause. I had explained this to my brother when I offered him the spare bedroom while I was gone. Temporarily, I said. Keep an eye on things, I said. I'll be back in April. He had hugged me at the door and told me not to worry. My brother has been telling me not to worry since we were children. It has never once been good advice. I should have seen it earlier. I used to make excuses for him the way you make excuses for bad weather. It just happens. It's not personal. It's nobody's fault. He lost his 3rd job in 2 years, the month before I left. I gave him $3,000 to help cover his rent while he looked for something new. He told me he was grateful. He told me it meant everything. I found out 6 weeks later, through his Venmo history, which he keeps public, because he has never once considered the consequences of anything, that the $3,000 had been spent inside of a week. PlayStation 5, AirPods Pro, 2 pairs of Yeezys, 1 dinner at a steakhouse that cost $340. I screenshotted all of it. I didn't say a word. I just added it to the folder I had started keeping on my desktop, the one labeled Administrative, which is a name boring enough that nobody ever clicks on it. That was the moment I understood what I actually was to my family. Not a daughter, not a sister, a resource with a password they hadn't figured out yet. I found out about the locks 3 weeks into the Phoenix assignment. I was logging into the Smart Lock app to let a friend pick up a package I'd had forwarded to the building. Standard procedure. Something I'd done a dozen times. The app loaded. The lock status showed active, but when I tried to send an access code, it bounced back. Access denied. Administrative credentials required. I sat very still in my Phoenix hotel room for a moment. My brother didn't have administrative credentials to my Smart Lock. I had never given them to him. I gave him a guest user code, one of 6 I keep active, each with its own access window and log trail. His code was code number 4. It had been set to expire on April 15th, the day I was scheduled to return. I went into the access history. Code number 4 had been used to log into the Smart Home Hub on October 22nd, 11 days after I left. Someone had accessed the admin panel using a firmware backdoor that requires the device's physical QR code, which I keep taped inside the kitchen cabinet above the refrigerator. My brother had found it, gone into the hub settings, and reassigned administrative access to a new email address. He had deleted my admin account. He had locked me out of my own home remotely and thought I wouldn't notice for 4 months. I didn't change anything. I didn't alert him. I spent 45 minutes figuring out that the hub manufacturer keeps a manufacturer-level override protocol for exactly this situation. A factory reset request submitted with proof of original purchase, and the unit serial number, both of which I had in my inbox from the day I bought the system 2 years ago. I submitted the request, set it to activate on April 12th, 3 days before my scheduled return, and then I went back to work, and I started collecting evidence. The Airbnb listing went up on November 3rd. My 2nd bedroom. My address. Photos I had never taken, shot from angles I recognized as the southeast corner of the room where the afternoon light comes in clean and gold. The listing was under an account belonging to my brother. He was charging $180 a night and had a 4.7 rating. Guests loved the quiet, private feel and the attentive host. I reported nothing. I downloaded everything. Every reservation, every review, every payout estimate I could calculate from the visible booking calendar. 4 months, average occupancy, roughly 40%, approximately $7,200 in rental income on a property he did not own. I found the state assistance application on week 3. My brother had submitted a rental hardship assistance claim through the county housing program, listing himself as a low-income renter in financial distress. Paying rent to a private landlord. The landlord name on the form was mine. The rent amount listed was $1,200 a month. The assistance program covered 65%, paid directly to the landlord. He had been collecting $780 a month from the county, deposited into an account I had never seen before. He had been doing this for 4 months. He was stealing government assistance money using my name, my address, and a landlord-tenant relationship that did not legally exist. I added it to the folder. The folder was getting heavy. My mother knew. I know she knew because I found a text thread. I still had access to the family group chat through my Apple ID, which my mother uses on her iPad because I set it up for her 6 Christmases ago and she never changed the account. On December 14th, my brother texted her. "Assistance came through again," she replied. "Good. Don't let her find out when she gets back. Just explain you were keeping things stable," she replied a second time. 12 minutes later. She always overreacts. I read that text sitting in a Phoenix parking lot after a 12-hour audit review. I read it twice. I put my phone face down on the passenger seat, and I looked at the windshield for a long time. She always overreacts. I have a federal security clearance. I have been auditing financial systems for 7 years. I have testified as an expert witness in 2 corporate fraud cases. I have never overreacted to anything in my life. I have, however, been very patient in ways that I am no longer willing to be. I drove back to the city on April 9th, 3 days early, after the factory reset on my smart lock activated and confirmed my administrative access was restored. I did not tell anyone I was coming. I checked into a hotel 4 blocks from my building. I spent 2 days organizing the binder. It was not a binder I put together quickly. It was one I had built the way I build every audit file chronologically, with source documentation, with corroborating timestamps, with a chain of custody for every digital record. Tab 1. The property deed, in my name, recorded with the county, notarized, certified copy. Tab 2. The mortgage payoff certificate from 18 months ago, when I made the final payment and owned the unit free and clear. Tab 3. The HOA account records, 12 months of dues paid from my personal checking account. Tab 4. The smart lock access logs, exported from the manufacturer's cloud, 117 days of entries, every code used, every timestamp, including the date my administrative access was deleted and the date it was restored. Tab 5. The Airbnb listing, archived, with all visible booking data, and the account name attached. Tab 6. The state assistance application, which I had obtained through a public records request. I submitted anonymously 3 weeks prior. Tab 7. The Venmo screenshots, the steakhouse, the sneakers, the electronics, the date. 1 week after I wired him $3,000. I printed everything at a FedEx 2 miles from the hotel. The binder weighed just over 3 pounds. I held it in both hands in the parking lot and I thought about the last time I'd spoken to my brother on the phone. 6 weeks in, when he told me everything was great and he was interviewing at a new company and he really appreciated my support. I put the binder on the passenger seat and I drove to my building. I didn't go upstairs. I sat in the parking garage across the street and I waited, because I had learned from 4 months of watching that my mother came by on Thursdays around 10 in the morning. She liked to have coffee with my brother in what she called our place, a phrase she had used in a voice message she left him in February that I was not supposed to hear. It was Thursday. It was 10:14 a.m. I watched her finish her conversation at the front desk. I watched the associate write something down. I watched my mother smooth her coat, pat my brother on the arm, and walk toward the elevator. I got out of the car. The lobby associate looked up when I came through the door. Her expression shifted, not alarm, just recognition. The soft recalibration of someone realizing the situation is more complicated than she'd been led to believe. "Hi," I said. I set the binder on the counter. "I'm the owner of Unit 14C. I have a few things I'd like to go over with building management. Is the property manager available?" She looked at the binder. She looked at me. "Let me call her up." My mother came back down 12 minutes later, which told me my brother had texted her immediately after I was spotted on the building's interior cameras. I know there are interior cameras because I reviewed the footage request policy when I moved in. I had already submitted a formal records request for the past 30 days before I walked through the door. My mother stepped out of the elevator and her face did the thing it always does when she's caught off guard by something she thought she'd already handled. A quick flash of something, not guilt. Exactly. More like inconvenience. "You're back early," she said. "I'm back on time," I said. My contract ended April 9th. My brother was behind her. He was wearing the Stone Island jacket. Up close I could see it was newer than I'd thought. He looked at the binder on the counter and something moved across his face that I recognized from childhood, the particular expression he gets when a situation has developed consequences he didn't account for. "We should talk privately," he said. "There's been some miscommunication." "There hasn't," I said. "But I'm happy to clear everything up right here." The property manager, whose name I had looked up before I arrived, came into the lobby from the management office hallway. She was carrying a clipboard. She looked at me, then at my mother, then at my brother, then back at me, with the practiced stillness of someone who manages a 40-unit building and has seen most varieties of family dysfunction. "You're the unit owner?" she said. "I am," I said. I opened the binder to tab 1 and set the certified copy of the deed in front of her. "Hannah Cross is listed as sole owner. That's me. I've owned this unit outright since 18 months ago." I set the payoff certificate next to it. She looked at both documents. She looked at the HOA account summary I placed beside them. "My daughter has been dealing with some things," my mother said, stepping forward. Her voice had dropped into that register, soft, concerned, the one that sounds like love and functions like a shovel. "Her brother has been managing the property in her absence. He's been very responsible. We just wanted to make sure the building had the right contacts. He's been living there," the property manager said. It wasn't a question. "As my guest," I said, with a temporary access code I provided, which expired April 15th. He did not have permission to modify the smart lock administrative settings, list the unit on a short-term rental platform, or represent himself to building management or any government agency as a tenant or landlord. My mother opened her mouth. I set tab 4 on the counter. The smart lock logs. 117 days. I had highlighted the relevant entries in yellow. The date my admin account was deleted. The date an unknown code, later matched to a guest Airbnb review, that mentioned arriving at 11 p.m. on November 5th was used for the first time, and the total number of unique access codes beyond my brother's that had been used in the unit. 19 separate guest codes, I said. Over 4 months. The unit was listed at $180 a night. I set tab 5 on the counter. My brother said, "That's not I was maintaining it. I was covering costs." "What costs?" I said. "The unit is paid off. HOA is auto-drafted from my account. The only utility in your name is the TV streaming service you added in November." I turned to tab 3. "Everything else is still in mine." "She's exaggerating," my mother said to the property manager. "This is what I mean. She has a tendency to." "I have the state assistance application," I said. The lobby went quiet in a specific way. The front desk associate stopped typing. I set tab 6 on the counter. "The rental hardship application, retrieved through public records, with my name listed as landlord, and my address listed as the rental property, with a monthly rent figure of $1,200 noted for a tenancy that began approximately October of the prior year. That's a county housing assistance form," the property manager said. She was looking at it carefully now. "It is," I said. "My brother filed it in late October. He listed himself as a low-income renter in financial distress. He listed me as his landlord. He collected $780 a month for 4 months. There is no lease between us. I did not agree to be listed as a landlord. I did not receive any rent. I was in Phoenix on a federal contract. I set my employment contract summary on top, company letterhead, start date, end date, project location. I have not been present at this address since October 11th. My brother's jaw moved without producing words. He looked at my mother. She looked at the counter. "That's fraud," the property manager said quietly. She wasn't saying it to anyone in particular. She was processing out loud. "It is," I said. "I've already reported it to the county housing authority. I submitted the documentation 48 hours ago. I have a case number." I wrote it on a post-it note and placed it on top of the pile. "I'm not here to make a scene. I'm here to clarify the building's records, restore my access to my unit, and make sure management has accurate information going forward." My brother found his voice. "She's trying to make me homeless," he said. "I've been here for months. I've been taking care of this place. You can't just show up and kick someone out. There are tenant rights." "You're not a tenant," I said. "You're a guest whose temporary access expired. You don't have a lease. You have a guest code. And the guest code expired 6 days from now regardless." I looked at him steadily. "I'm here 6 days early. That's the only thing that changed." "I have documentation," he said. He reached into his jacket, the $400 jacket, and pulled out a folded document. He unfolded it and set it on the counter with the particular energy of someone who believes they've just played a decisive card. It was a sublease agreement. 2 pages. His name, my name, a unit number, a monthly rent figure, a start date of October 15th, a signature line with what was supposed to be my signature. The property manager picked it up and read it. I waited. I had known this was coming. I had thought about it for 3 weeks. I had prepared for it the same way I prepare for everything, by doing the work in advance, so that the moment itself requires nothing from me but patience. "That signature is not mine," I said. "I've never signed a sublease agreement. I was in Phoenix when this was supposedly executed. Here is a notarized affidavit from the Phoenix Hotel confirming my check-in and check-out dates." I set it on the counter. "Here is my work badge swipe history from the federal building where I was contracted, showing my presence in Arizona every weekday from October 14th through April 9th. I set that beside it. My brother's face was doing the calculation. "Beyond that," I said, "I'd like to point out that the signature on this document doesn't match my legal signature, which is on file with this building from my original lease and purchase documentation. They can be compared right now." The property manager looked from the sublease to the original lease in the building's file. which she had pulled before coming out. She set them side by side. She looked at them for a moment. She didn't need to be a forensic examiner. The signatures were not similar. Mine is small and precise. The one on the sublease was a looping, open cursive that belonged to a different hand entirely. This document isn't valid, the property manager said. No, I agreed. It isn't. My mother made a sound. I didn't look at her. My brother pushed back from the counter. She's been gone for 4 months, he said. Louder now, his voice cracking along a register. I recognize the one he uses when reasonable arguments have run out, and volume is the only remaining option. She abandoned this place. I kept it running. I paid for groceries and utilities, and I kept it clean. I deserve to be compensated for that. I deserve something. You can't just walk in here and take everything back like I'm nobody. The property manager said. Sir, he's right about one thing, I said. Everyone looked at me. He does deserve something, I said. He deserves to be held accountable for $7,000 in unauthorized rental income, $3,200 in fraudulent government assistance, $1,000 in unauthorized utility and subscription accounts in his name, charged to my HOA address, and the cost of repairing whatever damage the Airbnb guest in November caused to the bathroom grout, which I can see in the background of the 4th listing photo. I turned to the property manager. I'd like to file an incident report and request the last 30 days of lobby camera footage for my records. I have already submitted the formal request online. The reference number is on the back of this card. I set a business card on the counter. My name, my title, my direct line. The lobby was quiet again. Differently quiet this time. My brother picked up his phone. I watched him type. 30 seconds later, my phone buzzed in my coat pocket. I didn't take it out. I already knew what it said, because I had watched his face while he typed it. Desperation looks the same on everyone, the tight jaw, the eyes that won't focus, the hands moving faster than the brain. I took out my phone. I read the text without expression. Then I turned the screen toward the property manager. Just drop all of this, and I'll sign over whatever you want. Give me 30% of the unit value, and we walk away. No lawyers. She read it. She looked at him. She looked at me. That's an extortion attempt, I said pleasantly. Offering to relinquish a fraudulent claim in exchange for payment of a property you never owned. I'm going to forward that to the County Housing Authority case manager, along with everything else. I typed 3 taps and sent it. Done. My mother had gone very still beside the elevator. She was clutching her bag with both hands, her knuckles light against the leather. She had the look of someone standing in a room where the furniture has all been moved and nothing is where she remembers leaving it. She always made everything so difficult, she said. It wasn't directed at me. She was talking to the middle distance, to the version of events she had been maintaining in her head for months, the one where she was the reasonable one and I was the complicated one, the fragile one, the one who needed managing. We were just trying to help. We were just trying to make sure the place didn't fall apart while she was off doing whatever she does. Auditing federal compliance systems under contract, I said. That's what I was doing. You left, she said. I went to work, I said. I came back. She looked at me for a moment with something in her eyes I had seen before. Not love, exactly, and not hate, but the particular frustration of someone who has written a story and found that one of the characters has stopped cooperating with the plot. Building management has everything they need, I said to the property manager. I'll be upstairs. I'd appreciate a copy of the incident report when it's ready. I picked up the binder. I tucked it under my arm. You need to be out of the unit by end of business today, I said to my brother. Your guest access code will be deactivated at 5 p.m. If you're not out by then, I'll have building security assist with the removal. You may take your personal belongings. The gaming equipment in the living room and the items in the 2nd bedroom closet are yours. The rest is mine. I paused. The Stone Island jacket, if you bought it with the Airbnb income, I'd like it back. If you bought it with your own money, you can keep it. He stared at me. We can settle that part later, I said. I took the elevator upstairs. The unit smelled like someone else's candles and takeout containers. The 2nd bedroom had a different comforter on the bed, white, from somewhere cheap, still with a faint crease from the packaging fold. There was a Bluetooth speaker on the windowsill I didn't own, and a ring light in the corner, still set up for content I didn't want to think about. The living room had been rearranged. The couch was pushed back. The coffee table was wrong. The bookshelf camera I had installed above the 3rd shelf, a small, matte black unit, barely bigger than a deck of cards, positioned behind a ceramic bowl I'd had since college, was exactly where I had left it. Lens forward. Indicator light covered with a small strip of electrical tape the way I'd placed it the day I left. I hadn't needed it. I hadn't needed any of it, as it turned out. The paper trail was enough. It almost always is. I stood in the middle of my living room, and I looked at the walls, the windows, the afternoon light coming in through the east-facing glass the same way it always had. The building across the way, the tree line below, the same view I had bought this place for, 3 years ago, when I signed the papers alone at a conference table, and the notary had asked if anyone else was joining and I said no, and she had smiled and said congratulations, and I had driven home and sat in this exact spot and felt, for the first time in my adult life, like something in the world was solidly, permanently mine. I opened the kitchen cabinet above the refrigerator. The Smart Home Hub QR code was still taped to the inside of the door, just where it always was. I peeled it off. I put it in my pocket. I reset every access code. I deleted every guest entry. I created one new code, 6 digits, something my brother would never guess, and I saved it under my name. Then I went to the refrigerator. My brother had left a half-empty bottle of rosé on the top shelf, the cheap grocery store kind in the green glass bottle. I considered it for a moment. I put it back and opened the pantry and found the bottle of Côtes du Rhône I had left behind in October, the good one I'd been saving. Still there, untouched, probably because my brother doesn't know what it is and couldn't sell it. I opened it. I poured a glass. I sat down on my couch, which was in the wrong position, which I would move back later, and I opened my laptop. The gaming setup in the corner was a fairly nice one. Monitor, tower, mechanical keyboard, a headset with the tags still attached. I photographed all of it and posted it on Facebook Marketplace at a fair price, listed as pickup only, available this evening. I got 11 inquiries in 40 minutes. Building security called at 4:47 p.m. to let me know my brother had finished removing his belongings and had left the building. He had taken the gaming setup, which meant I would need to take down the listing. He had not taken the ring light, the cheap comforter, or the Bluetooth speaker. He had, however, taken the ceramic bowl from the bookshelf, the one that had been sitting in front of the camera. I looked at the empty shelf for a moment. Then I went to the closet and took down the storage bin from the top shelf, the one I had labeled winter linens in black marker, and I lifted the lid and took out the secondary binder I had left behind, the one I hadn't brought downstairs, the one I had built not for building management or county housing authorities but for the civil attorney I had already consulted by phone 3 weeks ago. 3 years of financial history. Every birthday gift that came with an undisclosed expectation. Every emergency loan that was never repaid. Every time I had paid for something and quietly subtracted it from a mental ledger I was no longer willing to carry. I set it on the table. I finished my wine. Outside, the city was doing what cities do in the early April evening, filling up with light and movement, and the ordinary noise of people living their lives in ways that had nothing to do with me. The window glass held the last of the sun, and the apartment was warm and quiet and mine, the way it had always been mine even when it wasn't. The way it would be mine long after the paperwork and the case numbers and the incident reports resolved into whatever they resolved into. I refilled my glass. I opened the binder to the first page. I had been patient long enough. It was time to do the math.